Ain't nothing worse than a smart dumb.
Hey yo! Hey yo! Hey yo! Hey
So welcome everybody to another episode of the Smart Dumb Podcast. If I'm not mistaken, and it would be crazy if I am mistaken because whoever that other person is, they're gonna be in their feelings. But I believe that you are my first return guest.
Hey,
Yeah,
what's up?
that's history.
Hey, how are we doing? My name's Dylan Sneeman. I'm a poet, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely looking forward to a conversation that kind of, to some extent, is going to encompass what's been up since then, but just in general, like somebody who this may be their first time. This one is their first one seeing it. We'll get some information.
Lucky you.
Yeah, absolutely. So welcome. See, that's how I know, right? You already knew what it was. Just went ahead and introduced with the name. That's that vet.
There we go.
The vet status. But how you doing?
I'm doing all right. In terms of writing and stuff like that, I've been going through it a little bit lately. I'm trying to figure out what more should I write about, or like what different topics I should go into. And that's been a bit of a challenge, but how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, this has been an interesting year. Work and some personal parts of life have definitely had its challenges. However, poetry specifically and directly has been my saving grace for sure. Between the practice itself, the ability, having that in my back pocket as a way to express, to having multiple features this year and just the good energy and the good vibes.
I'm still looking for my first feature. I would love to have a feature somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's congratulations, man.
No, I appreciate that. So as far as you and poetry, there's the one, we'll definitely talk about inspiration. But are you a open micer?
Yeah, I definitely am. I've done several. I would like to do more. But I've always enjoyed being up on the stage.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed performing, and open mics, I think they're cool just because everyone's coming with something different.
Yeah.
And it's a very welcoming space, and it's a good way to try things out and see what works and what doesn't. And then maybe you have a piece that's good, but you have to perform it in a certain way in order for it to be received the way you want it. But yeah, I enjoy the open mic and live performance space.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's a very basic but also effective way is you go not just even virtual. Now the curators, the decision makers they know who you are, they see your vibe, they see the poetry. Definitely I've shown up to a place, done one piece, and they came back to me. You know what I mean? So somebody they got to know, hey, Dylan would love the feature. You know what I mean? But also by you going to their platform, it's an exchange. So
yeah,
that's a very simple one. But I love that, and I think also artists sometimes are way too. We don't want to be over. Sometimes we don't want to put ourselves out there. There's the fear of the rejection, but sometimes also reasonably, I don't want to come off as arrogant. So
yeah.
But there's a humble way to say hey, I would love that opportunity. I'm not, if it makes sense to you.
I think it's a mix of marketing yourself as hey, I can do this. I'm a poet. I know how to do this.
Right.
But also I'm the next William Shakespeare, and I'm the best thing to ever happen to poetry.
Right.
And it's that's where it's becoming cocky, but you know, I think it's just a mix of like marketing yourself to like, so you're taking care, like you're representing who you are and saying like, this is what I can do, as opposed to, you know, bigging yourself up just to be like amazing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, just over like you're welcome for me being in y'all's presence
Yeah.
type of situation. So that's another kind of general topic that we can get into. Basically, this is some of this that we're talking is imposter syndrome. Some people who are very talented, but they don't believe it, you
Yeah.
know, and will even have accomplished something amazingly and still and still find some serious doubt. So like how would you describe like, you know, 1 to 5 or whatever? Is that something that hits you? And on the better days where you have your confidence, even if it's all the time or some of the time, like what is it that, you know, what angle or what, you know, perspective do you have of yourself to say like, no, I don't need to beat myself up and underestimate myself at all?
Well, it's funny you say that because I often do kind of underestimate myself and say like, man, I don't know if I got it anymore. Like, you know, I sometimes feel like, you know, I told my story and like it's out there. So now like what do I kind of talk about?
Mm,
Which isn't the case. I mean, there's always new stuff happening and everyone has a bunch of shit that they can talk about.
right,
But it's just, I think it's a matter of like finding how to say it. Like, you can have an amazing story about, like, me personally, I write a lot about my medical stuff.
right,
And I found good ways to talk about that. But there's other aspects to who Dylan is that aren't medical related. And so I just haven't really maybe explored how to write those poems yet. And so
right.
it's a matter of like just finding a way of how to express yourself in the most accurate way. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think that is a potential, you know, kind of category avenue to explore. It's like, yeah, you definitely have or always have in your bag the this is who makes Dylan Dylan. This is my story. This is what stands out. But also there's I think potential in well, here's how I'm an everyman. You know, I also, you know, I have a lot of, you know, basic, you know, needs, wants, interests, hobbies that anybody else would have. So being a artist, you know, being able to put in words what everybody else can't do about those general topics, like there's a
Yeah.
lane for that too.
Yeah. And it's like, I heard this was a long time ago, but there was a singer who I really liked, and she at one point it was like it's not the notes you can sing, it's like how you can. It's the song you make with what you can do,
Hmm.
sort of. And it was like, you know, I might not be able to write about like everything that these people can write about, but what I can write about, I know how to do it well.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and you know, it's, I think it's a mix of, you know, perfecting your, you know, your comfort zone in terms of writing, as this is what I'm good at, and then also branching out to find what else you can talk about and convey a interesting story.
Yeah. Challenge. Yeah. Challenge yourself because, excuse me, because you're even if I'm talking about the same thing everybody else is talking about, because I'm unique, it's still very likely there'd be a new angle, a different way to say it, a different perspective, opinion, and all that. So
Yeah.
humorous take on it, that type of stuff. So yeah, it's out there. It's definitely
Hmm.
out there. So now, do you feel like these two concepts intersect? Do you think that the writer's block that you, and we're going to get to that for sure. Um, in general, I mean, we are talking about it, but just more. There's a point I want to make. But do you feel like there's a overlap of the reason that I'm struggling for what to write is because the two lines or the hey, what about that I've thought about I immediately or quickly said, no, that's not it. This is not good enough, so to speak. And, and kind of, you was like, do I have it anymore? Like, because I'm sure you haven't not thought of anything. I think it's more so you don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, there's I have my notes app in my phone, and I
Right.
have hundreds of things, whether they're just like clever lines or topics for poems that I want to write.
Same.
And there's a bunch of them. So it's like, I have ideas for what I could write, but at least at the moment, or like sometimes it's just like it's a good idea, but I'm just not like coming up with anything like that's substantial in the way, like I'm sure like this is something that I feel like all creatives feel in some way. It's like it's when that, like when the inspiration hits you, and it's like, oh, okay, here's this idea and I'm gonna run with it. But if you sit down and you have nothing like on your mind, like, all right, I'm gonna figure one out. I'm gonna create a poem just because I want to create a poem. And then it turns out and it's just a dumpster fire. And it's like, I feel like the inspiration needs to be there. And as you practice more, then the inspiration will tend to find you more often. But, I think that just trying to pull one out of thin air a lot of the time can lead to not creating something very good.
Right, and I agree with that for sure. When we're talking about the purpose to have created a piece of art that you can, to have some pride in, it's like, yeah, to not have a motivation, to just free write from the sake of I don't really know what I'm talking about, not really anything. Yeah, that can be tricky. But on the other hand, sometimes the free write is good just to continue the habit of making an
Yeah.
attempt. And sometimes those 45 random ass lines can just go in the notes app and some more. And, obviously not all 45, like, so, but somewhere along the way, you came up with something super clever, a great line, a nice rhyme pattern, those going. And now, again, we still have even more puzzle pieces. And one day, one of those stand out. One of those is your
Yeah.
motivation, so.
Yeah, and there's like where I first heard about it was in a book called The Artist's Way, but it was basically like you just like clear your mind and just start like writing, and whatever comes to your mind, you write that down, and then just like fill out a page worth. And like it's interesting to see, like, because it's not like subconscious per se, but it's like, it's stuff that you wouldn't have thought to write down
Right,
otherwise.
right,
And whether it's a story or it's like a sentiment that you're trying to get across, it's like, it's an interesting way to get an idea out, and then you can, maybe pull something from that. Or then that might be like the jumping off point to be like, okay, well, I've already written a little bit. Now I'm feeling more comfortable, and then you can jump into making something that you can really get behind.
right. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, great point that you made. It's like if eight random thoughts are going on at one time, then usually the loudest one, whatever that
Yeah.
means, is the one that's gonna permeate. But like if you just say, yeah, like clear that out, because usually a lot of those thoughts are negative, pointless, unproductive, all that type of stuff, demeaning. So you move all that out the way, and it's like, yeah, that one, it's like the traffic is lessened. So this one, now can proceed across the street, whatever you want to call it, and yeah, like I agree, it's not necessarily subconscious. It just wasn't a squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
It was not going to get the oil otherwise. So yeah, that is not. Yeah, there's merit to it. It's really better to write random and then delete versus say until I just feel like this next thing I'm gonna think of is perfect. I don't want to put it down. Definitely, now for sure everything we write or think of immediately does not need to be shared, published, said out loud.
Yeah, yeah,
You
like
know what I mean?
there are
That's
times
fine.
where I look at like a first draft of a poem and I'll just be like this is not good, or like oh man, like, and it's, but you need that
Yeah.
like first draft in order to build upon it.
Yes.
You know, and you know those like kind of cringy ideas are like they turn into something better.
Yes.
um and so, you know, I think that it's just kind of a part of the process
Right.
in being a writer or being whatever type of creator you might be. Is just like, you know, you have to do the work in order to get the result at the end.
Yes.
um and
Yes.
so
That,
I feel like a lot of the times people, myself included, but I feel like all of us can be kind of afraid, is like, I don't want to write something that's bad. But like you can write something that's bad and then like work on it
right.
so that it becomes good.
Right. Right. And so honestly, sometimes it's lazy. Sometimes we just want to get right to the let me write the amazing part. It's like, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
process. Sometimes you wake up and it came to you and we knock it out in, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, like, and sometimes the idea can be fine, but like the filling it out takes a while. I think
Yeah.
if we want to be technical, which as creatives we should embrace that. The piece that that's crazy. It really did do that. The piece that that I thought of and wrote in 30 minutes, um, it took a lifetime. Like I had to experience things. So it's
Yeah.
still like it wasn't really 5 minutes. It's just the words themselves probably came quickly.
Right.
So it's like it's always a journey, whether it feels like it or whether it doesn't feel like it is basically the difference.
And going off of what you just said about experience, I think that you know, there's only so much that you can write about from the place that you're at right now. I think that you need to be able to, you know, you can write like whatever you can come up with now, you can create that. But eventually it's like, okay, so these are the experiences that I put into this piece of work. And now I need to go out and get more
Right.
experiences to then write about those.
Right.
And so I think, you know, I think the balance between life and art, you know, you have to live life in order to create art.
Right.
And a lot
Right.
of people create art to because that's what they how they like to live life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that it's a balance of, you know, having material to then create with.
Right. Because even so, if you wanted so like dreaming, like what is aspiration, writing about aspirations. Well, you needed to live life to know what this what that future that you're going for is, or man, this
Yeah.
would be nice if I could try to achieve that. So start speaking on how that could go, reflecting on things that did happen. And where's the growth in that? What's the lesson learned from the past? Like all these types of things. Like yeah, it's about actually, even that, one is you have to go get the experience, go get the moment that motivates, the travel, the interacting with, socializing, just a conversation with somebody else. And they make a point that sticks with you and you take it somewhere else. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, these are all the things. These are all the things, the ways, as far as when we are talking about that, that writer's block concept. I know, shout out to Black Chakra. I reference him a lot. He's like, there's no such thing as it is really just no, what I'm writing right now. I don't like any of it. And it's like, that's okay. It's exactly what you said. So like be okay with the foundation being mud instead of brick out the
Yeah.
gate, and shape that, and shape it and keep at it. And then, and what the beauty is now you have, not only have you created new art and new story, you have a story about the story. Like, man, I tell y'all, the first time I tried to write on this concept, it was not it,
Yeah.
like, and so then that 100% helps and reminds the other artists who, from the very first person to veterans, often forget the same exact stuff. They often have the same slow slow and tough moments. So it's like somebody needed that reminder. Like it's not, you know, the piece that's shared or published, like, yeah, make that refined. But it's okay that where the very first thing you started wasn't, amazing out the gate, but it was your
Yeah.
foundation and it had a place. It needed to
Yeah,
happen. It needed to
definitely.
happen. Um, so at this point, I'm pretty sure when we spoke on the first one, we did talk about book number one.
Yes.
I mean, I'm even pretty confident that you said, well, I got another one on the way. But as of this recording, you are now a two-time author.
Yes, I am.
So,
So this is book number one.
hmm
It's called Wait and See.
right,
It's a book that's primarily about like my medical journey, being in the hospital and going through surgeries and stuff like that. But then we also have dun, 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 this one. It's called Fall from Grace: Life After the Hospital. And as the title would imply, it's coming. So after you're done with the surgeries and you're out of the hospital and you go home, what's life like then?
right,
Is it you're just back to doing everything you used to do, or how are things different? And so I tried to explore that aspect of the medical recovery sort of thing.
gotcha. Now, are you continuously telling the story through poems? Are there any just kind of, I don't know, not monologues because you're not talking, but like just a paragraph or a chapter? Or is it mostly just like these are a series of poems related to my life and my experience?
I mean, I feel like my books have been kind of unique in the fact that like there are poems and then they're just kind of like longer.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
Reflections.
yeah, reflections, sort of just like thoughts. And I try and add some artistic flair to it so it sounds better. But I also have just like pictures throughout, like paintings that I've done. Let me try and find one here.
Mhm.
Yeah, like this is a painting that I made at one point.
Okay,
Um,
right. Yeah,
and
no,
like
that's
yeah,
listen. I'm somebody that can't draw, so I'm impressed by it. First of all, it's not like that was it, but like everybody who has that talent, I'm like salute to you. You know what I mean? So no,
yeah.
that was good.
I just like whatever form of creativity I can like think of, then I
Right.
tried to put it into the book pretty much. And
Nice.
I try and so it's about my medical stuff, which isn't always super fun. Like it's not a super jolly read, but I try and add like humor throughout. Whether it's just like in little interjections or a joke here or there. I try and add humor so that it lightens up the mood a little bit, despite maybe what the topic of the poem is.
Right.
But yeah, so the first book is like I'm in the hospital, I'm going through surgeries, like all that stuff. And then the second book is like, okay, now I'm home. Now I'm trying to deal with insurance. Now I'm trying to deal with, getting around, um, and all those sorts of things. So it's like two sides of the same coin
hmm
in a sense.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, and continuation, so to speak. It's not necessarily this is the sequel, but this is one point in time, and then this is a point in time in the future. Or would
Yeah.
you consider them sequel?
I wouldn't consider it a sequel. I
Yeah,
think it makes more sense as a continuation
yeah,
because it's if it was like a relapse or something, like if I had like I have brain cancer, which is what I write about.
gotcha.
But if I had gone into remission and then came back, and then that might be like a sequel.
Right,
But since it's I was in the hospital, now I'm home. So I
right,
think it's like a continuation of the same story.
right, right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, totally, yeah. And I really, yeah, the main was like, how do you see it? And however you see it, that's how it is.
Yeah.
These are your story, your art, and all that. So I like that. I like that. Some of what are um, what's like one or two main differences with like the creation of book one versus book two?
So I feel like book one was born out of necessity
Mm,
in a way,
mm,
because it was like I have these feelings that I have while I'm going through all these things, and like here's what I'm thinking, and I feel like it's not really talked about very often. That's one thing, is I feel like medical struggles aren't like talked about very often in
mm.
art in general. And so book one, I would say, is just like shine a light on that community in the sense of, these people exist too. And then the second book is, a follow up to that. It was like, okay, well, once they're in the hospital and they're done with that, then they're fine. They go back to life. But that's not how it's been. It's been, struggles that have come up since coming home from the hospital that I wanted to talk about and, bring to light as well.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to exploring more about this. We're going to take a quick break. All right.
All right.
This episode of the Smart Dumb Podcast has been brought to you in part by Audacity Magazine. Audacity Magazine and Events has been amplifying young professionals and small businesses for the last 5 years. If that describes you, then I invite you to get an Audacity subscription, aka join the Audacity team. You can enjoy benefits that include 2 events a month, whether virtual or in person in Atlanta, bi-weekly power hours that serve as accountability as well as brainstorming sessions, entry into a WhatsApp group chat of fellow entrepreneurs, free shipping on merch, and a free entry into the fetch list, which, yes, is a nod to Mean Girls and no, not a reference that I personally understood. The fetch list is, however, a directory accessible by those who are tapped in with Audacity, which means it can help you find your next customer. Now, I think it's safe to say that 5 years of anything can never be sufficiently covered in one ad. So to learn more, visit audacitymagazine.org. And to inquire about advertising across their different platforms, email audacitymagazineonline@gmail.com. That's Audacity, MAG, online@gmail.com. So yes, we are back from the break, and I like what I like. Thank you, obviously, for sharing again. I'm very impressed with somebody and knowing what I had to do, knowing the energy and effort to make one book for you to have produced two, and then not only like mine is multiple pages of words, you have kind of multiple versions of art in there, as you said, and that's very nice. So that's to both be able to have gone through that process to some extent and just been writing for a while. The evolution as far as what ended up being in my book and then what's happened since has been interesting. I think the summary of that, like what's the writing been like since, there's just been a lot of relationship related conversation that I've had, and that's because that's where my life was at that point. So I remember 2025, the beginning of it, I said like I feel like I've kind of just been going off of the work I already did. Let me let's get something new out there, and I think I can now say as we're at the half of the year, I've done a nice amount of new writing. So I can, I'm giving myself permission to like, you can take the foot off the gas. Like if I get another feature anytime soon, it's okay to reach back into the queue because I haven't done it 4 months straight. Like we took a break from that. We can come back.
Yeah.
We can come back to that piece. But yeah, I've always been like a what's happening with my life kind of writer anyway. And right now there was a lot to talk about from that standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that, like we kind of talked about, being able to keep it fresh and, finding new ways to tell stories, or like you can even like maybe a poem or like an aspect that you already talked about, you can find like a new angle to it and then, have a different perspective on that thing. But I think that, taking whatever aspect you're writing, taking your writing and then having new experiences, going out and living new experiences to then incorporate into your writing is very valuable. I would
Yes,
say.
absolutely, absolutely. I think one example that I like that happened is there's a poem in the book that I knew was like a draft. And just the fact that I was willing to say like, nah, just send like everything, like they're all dated. Like this is where I was at that particular point. Like just be
Yeah.
okay. And then I brought it to a feature in February, and I had lines for it. So now I have a finished version of it that I'm very happy with, but that didn't show up till January, right? So it's like
Yeah.
this was art that I had previously started, and it turned into, or it got filled out, fleshed out, or whatever, and it was a perfect, example. And it obviously, when it always helps when you go through one of these processes and the end result is something you can appreciate, then I think it's easier to, to be like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, all that was worth it. Like, yeah, the part that
Right.
that I knew wasn't ready yet, but it got me here. So now we can, now you can appreciate it for sure.
I have a question. Have you ever like experimented with journaling? Like writing in a journal?
I'm glad you said that because that's another way, again, if it's not poem form, but still getting the thoughts out. I need to I need to write about this week. There's a lot that happened this week and
Oh
I
yeah.
just keep not making the time. I'm glad, like just the fact that you said it's like, all right, I gotta do, like I have
I
to do it.
got
I'm
you.
being reminded.
Yeah, I've been getting into journaling a lot. I have several different journals that I keep. I have
Hmm.
like a morning one. I have like a daily routine one. I have an art one. I have like a quotes journal, and just like I feel like that has been something that is it's given me a way to like get my thoughts down, even if it's like, oh, this is my next artistic masterpiece. It's like
Right.
this is just what I'm doing. And
Right.
then going back to what you said about like how your poems in your book are dated, this is when I wrote this poem. And I think it's nice, especially with just like Dear Diary type journal entries where
Yep.
you're like,
Yep.
here's what I'm thinking about, is that you can look back at those at a later date and say, okay, here's who I was talking to, here's what I was feeling, and sort of this is the situation I was in.
Right.
And so that's just something that I've been getting into lately
Yeah. Now
that
that's
I've
amazing.
enjoyed.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's dope. Now, what motivated you to categorize them? I like that idea. What made you
Um,
decide to do it?
like with the different journals and
Yes,
stuff
yeah,
like
the
that.
types, right? This journal's for
So it's just like, because if you have like a Dear Diary journal, there's really like you write how you feel, and then kind of like that's kind of it. But like there's so much more you can do with a journal. So like
absolutely.
I said, I keep like a morning journal and just like hear my thoughts like as I wake up. Which we all have. Your mind's racing 1,000 miles an hour when you wake up, and so you just kind of write whatever, and it's a good way to get all that onto a page. It's sort of like if you're like anxious or like freaking out about something, and it's like I'm just gonna write it down and all right, so now this is clear and this has all the
You're
you
right.
know
Yes. Yes.
craziness. And so
Yes.
like I feel like that's nice. And then like the art journal is something that's nice because like I've always enjoyed making art, and like sometime, if I'm making a painting, if I screw up the painting, I'm going to be upset about it because like now I can't, I have to go back and fix that. But if I'm doing it in an art journal, which is just for me, you know, then
Right.
I can just do whatever I want. It doesn't have to be perfect. I can experiment with things. I can
Right.
just see what works and what doesn't. And like, I can try different forms of media. I can try like gluing stuff in there or whatever. And like there's the quote journal, which is nice to just have over time, because you can say like, here's something that really stood out or like spoke to me, this sentiment about whatever it might be. And then what I've started doing also in the quote journal is like, if I write a quote down, then I'll like write a reflection about that quote right after and just kind of say like how that relates to me or what I think about it. So it's just like a more, you know, personal expression, or like
Right.
so I connect with it more.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely does. Definitely does. And I think so. I think it's also safe to say, like, if you had one journal and this entry was, "Hey, here's what happened when I woke up," and then page two was, "Here's a nice quote I had." Like that would just you would reflect and read back like, "What the hell is going on?" That's what it sounds like. It
Yeah.
sounds like it's better for you to say this one's for this section or this one's for this
Right.
topic or type of. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's good. When is recently when you first started journaling, or you came back to it? Like, what's
I
origin of
mean,
it?
I've kept journals like ever since I was a little kid, but
Yeah.
they're mainly like the "Dear Journal, here's how I'm feeling today"
Right.
ones. I've the like multiple journals that I
Yeah.
keep
It's
now has been
evolution.
a more recent
Yeah.
development, and just like I found like YouTube channels that talk about different journaling techniques and
Hmm.
sort of those sorts of things. And there, I have a couple journals that are like ones that I've bought that are sort of like, okay, do this kind of thing on this page, or like rip out this page and make it into a paper airplane and stuff like that, and just
Right.
like creative journals. And there are different things you can do, and like one of the things that a lot of the pages talk about is like, I could write in my journal or I could scroll on my phone. And it's like we all scroll on our phones, and it's like, it doesn't really do much for you
Right.
if you're just like on Instagram and just like, okay, yeah, you're all right, cool. All right, that was 15 minutes of my life I'm not getting back.
Yeah. Get it
But if
back.
you write in your journal and you're like, here's what I'm thinking about, or here's a thing I want to test out, or just like writing random thoughts,
Yeah.
there's also, this is the journaling podcast, but there is there's also, it's called a pocket notebook, which is
Mm.
basically just a thing that you carry with you, like if you're going out into your day, and just like you have a thought, and it's like, okay, I'm going to put that into my pocket notebook, or
Right.
like here's a thing that I'm talking to, or like I sometimes when I go for a walk, I'll take it with me, and like I'll just kind of write down like, oh, like I saw this person, or like, oh, this person, I haven't seen them in a while, or what's going on in this part of the neighborhood, or whatever it might be. And so they're just different journals for different purposes. And then, if you have an idea that, because a lot of the times, you'll have an idea and be like, oh, I want to remember this. I want to write about it. I want to do something with it. And then you get back home, and you're like, what was it? Like,
Right.
yeah, like
Uh,
I completely forget what I thought about.
yeah.
And so it's a good way to, just kind of like keep track of things, I would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one thing there's to be said is like, yes, you can do that very same. I had a thought. You can get on the phone with it. Absolutely, you can. However, writing is an art that's a lot. My writing is terrible now. Like
Yeah.
my hand cramps up and all that. It doesn't look too well if I really take my time. But if I really take my time, then I'm really doing this straining and hurting my hand just because I
Yeah.
got out of that habit. So it's like, yeah, there's something still to be said. Like convenience and ease isn't always better. You know what I mean? So I do like that. I do like the concept of the pocket journal as well. It has its place for
And it's
sure.
nice to think like, all right, like 9 centuries from now, like someone will find these journals that you
Yeah.
wrote and just be like, whoa, like what was
Right.
this guy talking about?
Right.
As opposed to like they find your phone and it's like, oh, his plan ran out, so we can't
Right.
see anything.
Right.
You know.
Right. And I mean, and yeah, 9 centuries from now, our phones will be as we use them will be relics as well. So it's like,
Yeah.
but it's to be able to show two different pieces of history. That's what we have. Instead of like, well, actually, shout out to hieroglyphics because I don't know how to speak or write a
Yeah.
language with symbols and stuff like that.
Yeah.
However, we have like I can write something down that's a historical moment. I can type something that's a historical moment. You can paint and tell a story there. So yeah,
Yeah.
that will be, that is definitely something that can be, pretty nice, pretty good. And I think, even that, like, that's a basic kind of general question. Like, what do you think is one of the first things that motivated you to be an artist slash creative? Like, what was it was one of the moments,
I think the last time we talked, I talked about how I just love singing.
Yeah,
I've always
yes,
been a singer,
yes,
and ever since I was born, really, I just loved making. I loved to sing. Just whatever song was in my head, I'd just walk around the house singing. I would be in class singing, and like it was to the point when I was little that like at the end of the day, like while we were all waiting for our buses at the end of elementary school, the other kids in school would like sit me on a desk and pretend I was a jukebox and be like, okay, sing this song. And I'd sing that song. And I'd go to the
that's
next one and be
great.
like, all right, do this one now. And just like I've always music and singing has like always been like super important to me.
Hmm.
And I would say that that is my first, um, artistic expression, and then came poetry in college, and then came like art and painting after college.
Right,
I would say.
right. Okay, and yes, you're absolutely right.
Shout
I
out to
do.
music.
I do remember. Yeah, I do remember. I do remember this. So I can remix it to something fresh, and I'll probably answer it myself. The question is, what has been a recent moment that was like a highlight slash a miniature or major reignition of like, oh yeah, I'd love like this the passion of the art. For me, one of them I would say is shout out to Pure Poetry, and they had a anniversary show with an amazing lineup. A lot of people, which I'm I'm humbled to call friends these days, and so I was able to see and talk to them. And these are people who are international, multiple books, award winning, champion. They treated this like this was one of the biggest, like it was a WrestleMania, like it was a super, like they
Yeah.
were so humbled by that. And again, 25 years in the game, like since they were a kid type, and to just see them, like see that joy that they had, like the care enough they had to prepare, probably made themselves a little bit nervous and all that. The desire before that, just I want this to be everything I had in my head, and then because everybody was amazing, so then there's that to be on the other side of it, and to just see that elation, like I did it, like I wanted to do it, maybe even better, and that was just so like I really I had that moment the previous year. Like I was honored to get that last year, but like just to then be on the other side of it and see that was just like, yeah, this is still fun. This is very much
Yeah.
still an enjoyable exercise, and it's really dope to see hundreds or even four people, even a small room, like, but they care right now because they could be on their phone. We keep talking about like they could be doing anything. They could go use the bathroom right now, but they are choosing to listen to what I or see what I have, to share to offer. And that's it's really, yeah, that just happened, and it was a nice little, refresh. So do you have like a more recent moment that's akin to that?
I mean, I would say, I relate to what you were talking about in the sense of just, having just being in your element, being in that space and feeling like you did a good job. I think that, having that support system of just like your friends or your family or whoever it might be, and just like who are there, and just like I remember it was when I released my book actually, and I had a reading at the library that's close by where I live. And my friends were just like, they were asking questions, and they were like, oh, what inspired you to write this? And like, oh, like I saw this poem, like that's just so like what was your inspiration? What was your thought process? And like when people sort of like, because like what you write to you is like normal,
Right,
it's like I'm just writing what I'm thinking about. But like seeing that it really connects with somebody is when it's like, wow, maybe it's, this is something that's, important. This is
right.
something that, is valuable.
Absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, I mean, it's one thing to say it, but some of us truly believe like it could be that one. Like I see now that this really did something for one person, and that could make a whole day. Like, oh, this right there was worth it, you know. So absolutely, it's that's really so to speak, a planted questions, but also I'm sure your friends there was pieces of your art that they didn't know about. So they're like, I've actually been I hadn't gotten to ask this yet. What better place to ask it than here? But and that is amazing because they could be doing anything. But then when you get that also from a complete stranger who's hearing and learning about you for the first time, it's like all of these are appreciated. I'm not ranking any of them. My friends who choose to support me, that's great. The person that went out of their way to that I know didn't know me prior to the performance that comes to show appreciation and give me props, like that's awesome. Like all of these are really nice feelings and very much appreciative. Again, all the energy and all the effort that took into that poem, into that art piece, to that satisfaction at the end, that payoff at the end is so good.
Yeah, and I think like going kind of staying on the same subject, like there, I want to give a shout out to this one lady who I know from a writers group I'm in. Her name is
Mm,
Miss Jean,
okay.
and she just like she is super supportive and just like really like she's been writing for like decades or like for a long time. And she came to my poetry reading and she was joking with my friends and my family and like just asking questions and like engaging with everyone. Here's someone who I didn't know before I started writing. And so like she really doesn't know like me outside of being a writer, but like she appreciates what I've been able to come up with and is able to then engage with the other people in my life who know me through other things. Am I explaining that well? It's like, oh, she's just like she's supportive of my writing and just like all that sort of stuff. And
Right.
like, yeah, I when someone like connects with your writing to the point where you form like a friendship with them, basically based off writing. Like I
That's
like her writing, she likes mine,
yes.
and like that is our intro to each other.
Right.
And then you build upon that,
Right. Yeah.
because like with your friends and family, it's like, oh, yeah, man, I met him back in middle school and we played kickball, and it's like, but it's like, no, they know me from now and like they fucks with me.
Right.
So
Off
like,
of that. Yeah.
yeah,
No.
so like I want to give it a Jean Burgess, and she has a book as well,
Okay.
which
Very nice.
I'll shout out if
Oh,
you
I'm here
don't.
for all that. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh
Oh.
yeah, so Jean has a book called "That Summer She Found Her Voice,"
Mm,
and it's a good book. It's a retro novel, and so you guys should check it out.
okay. Okay. Hey, listen, you next time you see Jean, she wants to be at that seat, she wants to be that other
Yeah,
screen. I'm happy to do
yeah,
that. So no, that's awesome. No, you made that point perfectly. It's sometimes that's where some people get caught up when they expect the friends and family support. It's like, but this isn't our connection though.
yeah,
I'm doing it because yeah, I want you to be great at whatever it is, but like that, it necessarily isn't our thing, and that's okay. So this other person, that's specifically what is drawing them, to be a supporter and an advocate and a fan of, who you and who I are, who I am, and they both have their place, they both are distinct and they're important, So yeah, that was perfect. That was a great point, definitely, definitely stated well. So, yeah, shout out to Miss Jean. We need more Miss Jean. I'm happy to say some of us feel like they don't have that. I know I do, and I'm very,
yeah,
humbled to have it and to know I have it. That's always unfortunate when we have more at our disposal, but our mind is saying we are, I'm at a drought. I don't have
yeah.
anything. You know what I mean? So yeah, shout out to Miss Jean
I
for
think
sure.
that I think that foundation under you is what helps you to then, okay, I can do this. I'm going to write a new poem. I got this. If you're like, oh, I'm by myself,
yes,
then it's still possible, but it's harder to be
so
like,
much harder.
okay, well, I'm going to try this and see how that works, as opposed to having that foundation and knowing that you have people in your corner.
Right. To an extent, I don't mind as a devil's playground. Like, yeah, if you feel like you're all alone and lonely, there's definitely the discouragement that it has room to sneak in there. But like, yeah, the validation, even from whether it's a book purchase to that compliment to, it's like, yeah, I did that. I did that with the art before. I can do that again. And not even necessarily chasing it. It's just like I can come up with the next form of expression that I would like to do, and actually sometimes that is the validation. The validation is them encouraging you to do you, to keep being yourself, to keep versus like keep making something just like this so it can go viral. Like, nah, it's somebody cares, somebody is benefiting from, entertained by, motivated by, what I mean, finds humor in, my forms of expression, and that's great for our artists.
And
Excellent
I
for
think
artists.
that, going off what you just said, and it's like, my goal as an author, as a poet, isn't to sell like 10 kajillion copies of my book. I just
Yep.
want people to enjoy it. I
Yeah.
want people to connect with it. And like, I have a good friend who I met because of poetry. Like, they reached out and they said like, oh, I liked your book. And then we became friends. And I think that, just connecting with people and writing something that people care about, that maybe draws up some kind of emotion for them or whatever it might be, but just connecting with people is the goal.
Right.
It's not to, be, hailed worldwide, and that
Right.
would be nice, but like,
Right.
it's on a people level.
Yeah. Yes.
It's on a people
Absolutely.
level.
Absolutely. And I imagine a lot of or a handful, we can say a handful at least. I don't know the percentage, but some of those super, super successful, not super talented, but just highly successful. That monumental, that meteoric, level is like they started like this, like and so when we talk about foundation, like yeah, their foundation is I just want to reach my core audience, and it just so happens that my core audience was 20 people, and now it's 7,000. But
Yeah.
it's those habits you build early, that are just nice. That it's the seed that was planted that finally, is sowing. So finally reaping what we sowed to something amazing. So for sure, yeah, no, that's definitely great. So, yeah, I'm thinking more. I'm thinking those wind down type questions. You feel free to redirect us, but I definitely want to make sure to ask, like, yeah, what do you feel like? What is on the horizon? Even like since you brought up, like, it's been a while, and there have been this time period of like, I don't know, but like, what do you think can be done in the future to get out of this quote unquote slump, out of the over the hump type thing, or what is something you're trying to explore these days as far as the what next and what do I write next? Just kind of very open ended.
So what I think is next for me is one thing I want to do is I want to get back into the community and, networking with people in the creative space, going to open mics and, just being around that crowd, I feel like always helps me to come up with ideas and sort of, feel more creative. That and just, I have a lot of like prompt journals and stuff, and I'm like looking at different things and like, oh, like, what can I say about this sort of idea? Or like, I have general ideas that are all in my notes app on my phone. It's just like I kind of chalk away at them, or like, yeah, and
Yeah.
just kind of just trying to, work at it. I think that the worst thing you can do is just say like, fuck it, like, whatever. It's, that was fun, but like, and no more, I guess.
Right.
But like you have to keep trying. You always have to keep that, the ideas in your head floating around, and maybe they're not turning into anything right now, but eventually, with enough, you got to get the ingredients. You know what I'm saying? You
Right.
gotta go
There
out
it
and
is.
live and
Yep.
get all of those ingredients, and then it'll work in the pot that's baking the soup that is your art.
Look at
Damn.
you. Right. Look at it. Right. Yep. Look at it. Look at it. So yeah, cookbook coming out next, or ingredients poem. Look at that.
There you go.
All from talking through it. And like you said, another point that I love that you made is keep the thoughts going and all that. Like, don't give up. The dream or the belief that like it's coming. It's not maybe not here yet, or not to my liking currently, but it's on the way. However, um, also don't let all these potential like dump it off into that sheet. Like that was such a great point. It's like, yeah, like put it in the journal. The journal is inanimate object. It'll be all right. Like it can, put that weight over there, get it out of here.
Yeah, like
You know,
if you're just like super anxious and like
yeah,
I don't know how to deal with all this, just like all right, you're feeling that way, just like write that down, and now you got it out, and like it's right here, so you don't
yeah,
need to worry about it up here anymore.
right,
And
right.
like just flush that out of your system.
Right. And now, oftentimes, now we can, this isn't even actually that important. This is, but let me order them. I cannot do anything about this for the next 3 months. So I guess I kind of just got to, you know what I mean? Like that's the type of thing you can do when you have written it down versus active juggling. It's like, no, it's survival mode. It's not really problem solving. That's going to be done. So yeah, no, and I think that's a lot of people probably can say, even if that's not why they started as creatives and as artists, um, getting it on the paper, the digital, the digital whatever, the computer, the phone. Um, it's just a way to keep processing and keep the mind, as I mean, we're still gonna be like we still out there. You know what I mean? We still, we'll still have our moments, but it helps. It's like, man, I can't imagine what if I didn't have this. Know that I had this. That I could do that, or this. I guess tool at my disposal. I don't even know where where a lot of people would be. I know I can say that. So
Yeah,
that's
and like
amazing.
one more thing that I wanted
Go
to
for it.
say is like when you're going through the writer's block and you're going through like hard times and stuff like that, it's like, man, like I'd rather be writing right now, but all this stuff is happening. And I think that it makes it more worth it once you figure out the poem or the whatever it might be, the song or whatever you're working on. And it's like, I had to work for this and
Yeah,
I have it now, and it
yeah,
feels so much better. If you
yeah,
just like whipped it up in an afternoon, you'd be like, okay, this is cool. But if you like had to struggle for it and you had to, put, okay, I'm going to come back to this later and I'm going to keep tacking away at it. I think that it makes it more, makes a better product in the end.
yeah. No, absolutely. I say, like, social media is definitely right now the biggest thing is show what you accomplish, show that you're that everybody's at that 2%, even if
Yeah.
we're making shit up, right? And so
I'm at that
then,
whole milk.
right, you say what?
No, I'm at that whole milk. I'm sorry. That was dumb.
that's, that's all good. That's all. I think it actually is overstated to some extent, because like a lot of people actually are saying, well, I'm the one that's showing the struggle. So it's like, we're not going to pretend that the process, the struggle, not always a struggle to process. However, there's still plenty of room for that. So like basically what I'm saying is, let me not pretend like I'm the Christopher Columbus of, we are talking about the process and I'm the first podcast to ever do that. However, there's still room for that, and I think so. I really appreciate that. That's a path we went down. Everything, isn't always just I show up and then I just perform this in front of hundreds of people and it was amazing and I got standing ovation, all that type of stuff. Like there's a whole lot in between that, and learning how to appreciate that. Like sometimes the thing that you got out of your head into the journal that's never going to be shown with other people is one of the most rewarding things that one has ever done for themselves. You know what I mean? It's like, and again, like that, you remember that's part of the reason why it turned into that. Even if again they don't necessarily see this, but I got here because of this, and so the appreciation is immense. That's big for sure. Like when you worked for it, it's a lot easier, more likely that you're going to appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think that not so like we're artists and we write, we make poems and we do whatever to show it to the world, right? But even if there's something that you just got to get out,
yeah,
that like you're like, I'm not going to show this to everybody, but it's something that I want to write. This is something that I want to create. And, creating that thing even just for yourself and, to help you work through whatever might be going on in your head. I think that's also important.
Right. Absolutely.
Giving yourself permission to, not everything has to be broadcast to everybody.
Right. That should not be the primary purpose of the artist. It shouldn't be. We hope it's not. Yeah. So no, that's great. That's yet another point. And yeah, I think so. Once again, let me let you shout yourself out. You did at the beginning, but do it again. Yeah, talk about these books. Talk about your social media.
Yeah. So my name is Dylan Sneeman. My Instagram is just Dylan_Sneeman. And this is my first book. It's called Wait and See. And then this is my second book, and it's called Fall from Grace: Life After the Hospital. And I'd be happy to connect with anybody who wants to reach out, and I'd love for you to read my book and let me know what you think.
Absolutely. And then what are the ways that they can get that book?
You can get it on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Amazon through KDP, which you don't need to know that. That's just for me. But it's on Amazon.
But I know what you're talking about.
And you can also get it, the first one, at a few different bookstores around the area, which I can pull up the names of, but I'd have to do that.
No, it's all good. I mean, yeah, that this is a good reminder. Like, yeah, one of your next posts, just like, hey, and I got to do that. Somebody reminded me, like, I haven't been promoting my book, so like,
Yeah, I can pull up the names of the bookstores real quick. If
sure, yeah, you can knock it out. Sure.
Let's see.
So I like it, but yes, yeah, definitely. Again, and those who haven't, if you enjoyed what the perspectives and the conversation we had today. Again, Dylan, we had an episode last year, so feel free to go check that out. But yeah, now that man has 2 books. It's got the social media presence, so definitely encourage y'all to, go check them out if you feel so inclined.
All right, so the physical bookstores that you can find Wait and See in are Water Street Books, Bookery Manchester, White Birch Books, Toadstool Bookshop, Balin BALIN Books, and Innisfree Books, INNISFREE Bookshop.
All right, definitely.
So yeah, I'd love if you checked out my work and connect with me online. Tell me what you thought, and yeah, thank you.
There we go. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, glad we got back to this this episode, this conversation. I definitely enjoyed it. So once again, I appreciate your time, Dylan. Thank you all for those who have tuned in. And this was another episode of the Smart Enough Podcast. Y'all take it easy.
See ya.